candy-like button.
All right, so here we are, everyone. Tonight we're going to do a version of the show we've been doing, but this one we're going to just really throw out the fact that these are our guilty pleasures, and one of our favorite movies is Hard Target. So to talk about Hard Target tonight, I would like to introduce my friends, Stephen B. Jones and Brandon McKinney.
Howdy.
We all used to be in a studio together, and one of the things that we would do to get through long nights of drawing is put on a favorite movie, and one of our favorites was Hard Target. It's just a great movie in and of itself, but it's an exceptionally good background movie in the middle of the night.
Brandon McKinney is here straight from having played Jeremiah Johnson in the Road, in the Sacramento Road show of the aforementioned.
Man, you should have seen this beard like 3 weeks ago. It was hipster beard.
Really? That's the cut down beard?
It was making it hard to sleep. When your beard gets too thick and you're on the pillow.
Joking you? Yeah.
Just to plug, since I can now publicly talk about the show I'm on as of today, there's a new Kung Fu Panda show that's going to be premiering on Netflix this summer, and Jack Black did a TikTok of it, and his beard is epic. It's incredible. It's like if Jeremiah Johnson and Leonidas had a baby.
That's a lot. That's a lot of beard.
Yeah. So seeing Brandon's recently shorn beard, it reminded me of Mr. Black. So Mr. Black.
Is that a Simpsons reference?
Yeah, gentlemen, evil. All right. Well, since everybody might not know who you guys are. Jones, you just said that you're working on the new Kung Fu Panda show.
And yeah.
And you have also done cartoons from Ghostbusters to Big Mouth.
Yeah. Yes. Go to StephenBJonesCartoonist.com if you want to see my whole resume. But I think my first animated gig was Extreme Ghostbusters at Sony Animation, and our former guest Ed LaRoche was also worked on that production, and about 30 other people that Jeff and Brandon and I both know. I'm still friends with almost everybody that I met on that show, and Jeff's inker on the famous Way of the Rat, Tom Ryder, was my cube mate on Extreme Ghostbusters. I worked on.
It's a pretty incestuous business. You know, we all kind of know each other. And Brandon, you have done every cartoon in the last, was it 30 years now in animation?
23, I think. And it's all thanks to Mr. Stephen B. Jones. My first ever storyboarding gig was Batman Beyond.
Oh, yeah. I remember that.
And I only got that because Steve was working there, recommended me. And
it's very nice of you to say. Well, I mean, I think, yeah, right. I worked on Batman, Superman, Batman Beyond, and Justice League with those group of guys. But I think we all owe it to Sean McLaughlin, too, because when I was first trying to break into comics, I was helping Jeff with backgrounds on Wonder Man, and I was helping another Bay Area artist that we were friends with named Ken Hooper, who was drawing Aquaman, and Sean McLaughlin was the writer on Aquaman, and we all stayed friends with him. And then Sean moved down to LA, did some stunt work, did some acting work, and he ended up getting into animation production. And then he ended up becoming the line producer on the Bruce Timm Batman stuff. So he definitely helped me get an interview there and stuff. And then once I was done, luckily, we got Brandon some work, and I think Chris Schenck even did a little bit of work on Batman Beyond too.
Yeah, it's funny the skill sets from drawing comics, because Brandon, you worked on ElfQuest and tons of comics before you moved into animation.
Yep.
And so and you're doing a comic of your own right now, right? Red Dawn.
Crimson Storm. Red Dawn.
Crimson Storm. Yeah, I had to change the name. Go figure, there were a couple of movies that maybe had that title. So, it's his character I made up back in the 80s, right? Saw the movie Red Dawn and just thought, that title is an awesome superhero name. And I had crushes on all the redheaded superheroines like Phoenix and
Charlie
Starfire
Sheen,
and
Patrick Swayze.
Mm-hmm.
Huh? What's
I was just naming the stars of Red Dawn, but I thought
right? Patrick Swayze, Leah Thompson, was she in it?
I think she was.
Yeah. So yeah, I just made up this character, and finally, all these decades later, got a chance to write and draw 3 issues published by 10 Ton Press, and I think it's going to the printer soon, so maybe next month.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Well, and you've done so many cartoons, and so one of the things that's fun about the show, Brandon, is that we'll deep dive in something, and actually maybe there's some educational stuff happening. Like we're going to look at some frames and some screenshots and take a look at things. So here we go.
Bill O'Donnell. I am drinking just a plain old American Coke with corn syrup today. Sadly, I wasn't quite up to the full liter of sweet, delicious Mexican Coke. and as much as I enjoy the Australian ginger beer, doesn't have though it has the sweet, delicious sugar, not the caffeine I felt was necessary for tonight. So that's what I'm drinking, Bill O'Donnell.
And okay. I have some wine. And Brandon,
so,
you have a Diet Coke of some kind?
No, I have a raspberry bubbly. Wait, there we go. It's just a seltzer water to give me that carbonation. Yeah, that or ginger ale.
Nice.
It was a little too early for the whiskey.
Yeah, just a little soon though.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's time. We're artists. So we're going to start with, I skipped around a bit, guys, mostly just having the first fight scene. But before the first fight scene is when we meet the character, and there's some establishing shots. But then we cut into.
When you say the character, are you referring to the great actor Jean-Claude Van Damme, or even more importantly, his character Chance Boudreaux?
Well, in this, I don't think he always had the mullet, but for this character, he had the mullet.
I was going to say, Jean-Claude rocked a mullet like nobody ever has or ever will.
Agreed.
Right. So there's that back shot of him, and then we cut in like a nice close up of the hair and the waitress giving him the look.
This is, look, all right. This scene, it's a masterpiece of like just rewatching it again. Like, all right, Ramzi Hassan says, John Woo's American debut, it was okay, but Face Off was his best, I think. Respectfully disagree, Ramsey, though. I think Face Off is a lot of fun. I feel like John Woo never tried harder in America in some ways than with this film. And I think it's because he was like, and I remember Jeff and I saw this movie with Dan Panosian and Ron Garney at 2 different showings at San Diego Comic-Con in 1993, I think. And this is before we had Blade and The Matrix and all of our superhero movies that we've now just come to.
This was kind of a superhero movie.
I 100% think it is a superhero movie. It's a comic book movie and a super. So it's like, there's just a great establishing shot of the Half Moon Utility restaurant. And then he loves his cross dissolves, John Woo. Then we cross dissolve to this amazing establishing upshot of like the exterior of that cafe where the camera's got to be on the ground. Mm-hmm. And we do this slow pan over across all the people in the restaurant, people walking in the foreground, and then push in on that amazing shot of Chance Boudreaux's back. Yes, that Jeff was kind enough to freeze frame on. And then he makes us wait a while before then we cut in on Jean-Claude's eyes.
Right.
He's trying to put a bit of a exactly. John was pulling a bit of a James Bond first reveal where making us wait to get a really good look at him, And of course, just the amazing dialogue.
Right.
Like, how's the gumbo today, Chance?
Wait, hang on a second. Wait, in the ear, how's the gumbo, Chance? Right? And then we see the gumbo watery.
Yeah.
It's gross, right? And then hold on his mouth for a moment, and then the best line ever. Tragedy. Oh, we have said that line so many times in our lives.
It's such a great collection of like, I love when you establish character with just a bunch of close-up details. So we get his wide back, we get his mullet, we get close on his eyes. The fact that we cut to his earring and then pan over to his mouth.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, how tight are we to pull off that shot? And then a tragedy.
So one of the things I wanted to talk about, Brandon, who is one of the premier storyboard artists in animation right now, this little inset shot, like it's just these quick insets. Here you go. It's just a close up of the soup. Like that's all we need. John Woo is giving us exactly what we need to see and nothing more. He's like, you just need his mouth. That's all. That's
right.
All
it's almost like pieces of a puzzle. Yeah. You've seen his eyes, you've seen his ears, nose, mouth, body, the back, and we're kind of putting it together in our brain.
Yeah.
And then it'll pay off when we get the reveal of Jean-Claude in all his Belgian glory.
Yeah. I love establishing a scene that way. If you're in one location and then you cut to just sort of a bunch of close-ups and small pieces of something rather than just cutting right to the establishing shot sometimes,
And it's such a director's style, right? Like this was the first John Woo film I'd seen. Because I think it wasn't until later when we'd always go to the theater in Berkeley and see all the Hong Kong films.
The Kung Fu double feature, yeah.
Yes. So I was not familiar with John Woo when this came out. And I just watching it, I'm like, this is totally new to me. The different types of shots, the slow motion, the way he does action is so unique and amazing. And it made me take notice. It was great.
Well, taking the screenshots for this, I realized that he did something that I'd never seen before. I guess it's sort of a common practice now, but back then he would layer a moment. Like he'd show you an action and then show you that action again from a different angle.
Yeah.
So that you saw it a few times, and but each one would be slightly different, and he would move time forward a little bit, and he really played with where you were in the sequence. So he would just layer that moment, and he'd add to the effective thing and get you. It was something I just never seen before, but it really works great, especially in animation or a fight scene where you might want to show the hit a couple of times in rapid succession. It's the same hit, but it increases the impact of the conflict, and
it does. It's taking a micro moment because somebody getting punched takes 0.08 seconds, right? But you want to drag it out. You want to savor it in a way. Yeah. So it's like play, rewind, play it again from a different angle, back, I've never seen that before, but I feel like I've seen it a lot since.
Well, I know that one of the things that if you've ever watched a Jackie Chan film or a Sammo Hung film, like that is definitely something that they do. It is 100% something that comes from, I don't know who started it over there or where it comes from in the Hong Kong tradition, but it's something that is done in those action films quite a bit.
So it was done before this film?
Yeah, he'd done it in other films. Like, this wasn't the first time he'd done it. So it was definitely one of the tricks that Americans had just never seen before.
Yeah. I never had.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So that's our favorite scene. So we jump forward a few minutes after Yancy Butler shows her
big scary eyes.
Right. She shows her. Oh god, yeah, she's great. You guys ever watch Witchblade?
No, I know she was cast as Witchblade, and that's awesome. But yeah, Yancy Butler's blue eyes just piercing into your soul.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always loved her. She was great. So then we cut. So later on, as he's walking away from screen. Look at this. I just broke this down to the rule of thirds. I really like that it's just a really beautifully composed shot. And then she comes out. And she's walking, also a nicely composed shot.
She's walking, and Jeff, before, just on his way out, like, again, that series of close-ups just on his hand as he pushes the the change forward when Yancy Butler comes in and she's like flashing the hundreds.
Yeah,
Again,
she shows too much money.
Really good storytelling of like, oh God, who am I going to call and how? Let me just go here to the front. Let me go to the thing. Chance scratches the money, and there's that great shot where Chance, as he's exiting, where he looks and sees the reflection of the bad guys in the window, and then go ahead.
I was just gonna say that I had to focus on just this fight scene, but everything leading up to this fight scene is fantastic establishing work.
It's amazing.
I do think that this is one of those films that people give a bad rap to, but if you break it down shot by shot, there's a schooling happening. There's a lot going on.
Well, it's the ultimate great guilty pleasure because there's actually an enormous amount of. I hope we continue to do more guilty pleasures on and off for fun, and I know that if we do, we're going to have to do Flash Gordon.
Oh yeah, Flash Gordon's brilliant.
And I think it's another good example of something where it's like, wait, it is both brilliant and horrible. And same with this film. You know what I mean? Like, I understand why people hate it, but there's so much hidden just genius in every frame.
Who hates this movie? I remember coming out of the theater just elated.
Yeah.
Because I'd seen one of the most incredible action films up to that point.
It's top notch. Dude, I want to talk about this later on because I'm a huge Scott Adkins fan. He's an actor, martial artist, film star, but he made Hard Target 2. And it's great. It's a great action movie.
Wait, Scott Adkins, was he American Ninja?
Strange. Yes.
Is that him, or what franchise was his?
Ninja 2, Doctor Strange. He's in a ton of stuff. He's everywhere.
Okay.
Yeah.
Some people have called Jeff an American Ninja, but more on that.
I do all the time.
Right. Oh, and then he looks over. I love that. Just
I
like that Jeff just made that a storyboard panel.
Right?
I did.
I was going to say it's a storyboard action arrow. Turns head. That's awesome.
And then we come back to her, and we see one of the things I like about this fight scene and fight scenes in general, well done fight scenes, is that you always know where everyone's at in space and really kind of who's involved and what sequence they're going to be in. And so here we have these 4 guys who are going to be in the fight scene in a second. So they start tracking her.
Guys.
Well, bad guys.
And the camera is so. It's also great that the camera, because this is a dolly shot, like, the camera moves with Yancy as she's walking, but the fact that it's so low, it's at like knee height, so it just makes it just looks great. You got that forced perspective. Everything looks really cool.
One of the things I learned from Shant when I was working on Transformers, and I was going to the Shant School of Storyboarding,
Shant Megagosian, we should say, who was a director for Jeff on Transformers Prime. And speaking of me plugging the new show that I'm on, he's the executive producer on this new Kung Fu Panda show. So
yeah, he's an expert storyteller. Like he's a 10th Dan. Like he's an amazing talent, and his storytelling is great. And one of the tricks he told me pretty early on was like, if you want to make the scene more tense, just lower the angle, lower the horizon line. It just because it puts the audience at a disadvantage, right? It puts them low. It puts them in danger.
Well, you're like a lesser being, a bug or something looking up, and so it automatically gives you like this sense of unease or danger, like you could get stepped on or smacked or something.
It's a great trick.
And props to Shant too. What was the name of the Netflix show that he produced or was like supervising?
Blood of Zeus. That's the thing he was doing before this.
That was amazing. I really dug it.
Great show.
It's great stuff. All right, and then next, then she walks past.
Just on that really fast too, I guess. If you think about it, I guess on one level, psychologically, it's making us feel like we're kids again, right? Because that's the only time we ever saw anything from this angle, right?
Or when you're on the ground and you've already been beaten up, or you're
right. You just got your butt kicked, and now you're looking up at.
Well, you're right. It does.
The two things are not mutually exclusive.
True. Yeah. Well, that's why we're artists. All right. So, so then she walks past, and then we have this group, right? So now we have our cast of bad guys, and once again, look at that shot. It's just a perfectly composed shot.
Yeah.
Character design wise, these are 4 great guys that all have slightly different body types and silhouettes, and then all of their costumes, though similar, like all read, in terms of color and everything else. Like no one's gonna mistake any one of these guys for one of the other guys. It's just
right. They're all thugs, but they're 4 different thugs, so you can tell who Jean-Claude's gonna.
Yeah, it's not like 4 guys from Squid Games, where they're all wearing the same outfit and the same color or whatever.
And don't forget the guy with the glasses, right? None of them he's not in the sun, but they make it very clear that he's wearing glasses throughout all this scene. And it's just it's like that Chekhov rule. Don't put a gun on the mantelpiece if you're not going to use it in the second act. Like, don't put a guy in glasses unless you're going to use them later. All right, so
plan.
They take her purse. Right.
We'll take the wallet, or Jean-Claude might say the wallet.
The wallet. Yancey shows us she got some backbone by smacking that guy. That guy shows that they're serious by smacking her. Right?
There's a wannabe Jean-Claude with trying to rock his mullet.
Right.
You know what's funny about that guy is he's probably a really well-known, fantastic stunt guy.
It's also amazing, and this is the Jean-Claude. Or this is the John Woo aspect of coming over to America and what his impression of America was, because this movie came out in 93, so imagine they shot it in 92. The mullet was long past acceptable at this time. And yet, the mullet is extremely well represented in this film.
Yeah, I mean, I think John Woo was trying to bring it back, personally.
Yeah, I remember it breaking big after Lost Boys. It was so influential, I tried to grow a mullet based on that character. And
Jeff sadly knows that I had a mullet briefly right in the same summer as Lost Boys, I think.
Yeah?
Yeah.
It was not a pretty sight, Brandon.
Mark points out. Yeah.
Good observation, Mark.
Yeah. And Hard Target 2 is awesome. If you like action movies and you like martial arts, it's in stunts, it's fantastic. All right.
Slow-mo slapping of poor Yancey.
I know. She did not deserve that.
She's just trying to find her dad.
She's trying to find her daddy. Her daddy. And then here we go. This is one of my favorite shots in the film. Look at that.
It is such a great just comic book, anime.
Sergio Leone.
Yep.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Under the legs.
And then that tilt. I'm glad you went to that, Jeff. Just the tilt up. Then we start with the camera low on Yancey, and then tilt up to, as the bad guy moves in, we reveal Chance. Oh, such a great shot.
Yeah.
Right, and the camera's moving a lot.
Yes, that's another thing too. Is like, I don't know when the Steadicam became sort of ubiquitous, but I think that it's done the advancement in technology has done so much for really making smooth fight scenes and just making great storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel like the camera's never moving nonsensically. In this, like it's right. And then before this, there's a great push in on the 4 guys, and they're all framed rule of thirds really nicely. And then we move in on great profile shot of Chance as he walks through, and the bad guys are in the foreground. Like if it was an animation, they'd be on an overlay, and we'd be sliding their overlay as Chance walked through.
Right.
Before we get to this shot where that bad guy rudely has his hand on Yancey's body.
I was just going to comment on that. That is inappropriate, sir.
But it's also, these are the first 2 guys we met. This is guy 1 and 2.
That's right. And that's how they're listed in the credits and on their IMDb.
Right. Exactly.
Nice, Mark. Dude's going to be a hard target. Oh. Well done, sir. Well done.
You cannot beat the dialogue. Look at he's such a comforting face.
Poor Yancey. I mean, there's some amazing Yancey overacting in this film, but I think possibly the greatest is when she comes up and she's crying like an 8-year-old, with her face when she first comes up and thinks Chance might be a bad guy too.
And then the knife.
Again, another great shot, right? Because we're on Yancey and Chance, and then it's like
we pan over.
Yeah, and then maybe there's a slight truck out where then now again we'd say it was an overlay of the hand and the knife coming to the foreground,
and maybe it's soft focus too, right?
Exactly.
Just to create this depth and mystery, and yeah.
Right. Wow. Well, one of the things, Brandon, that as an expert storyboard artist, you'll know is
far from an expert, but thank you.
Well, one of the tools that took me forever to get a handle on was racking focus.
Mm-hmm.
You know what's funny? It's such a great thing, and I remember when I started doing boards, I was using it every chance I got.
Were you over racking?
I was racking all over the place, man. And racking here, racking there. And then I kind of sort of either forgot about it or worked on a show where they didn't want that, or it was hard to notate. But yeah, I think I need to put more rack focus. And
it's really great for making your eye go from one place, like moving depth of field. It's great, but you're right. It can be a crutch.
Luckily now with Toon Boom, it's so easy for us to do because you can just draw something on one layer. You draw your foreground thing on a vector layer.
Yeah.
For any of you storyboard artists out there that want to look, and then
this is the deep technical shit, and then the other, what you have to do it on a regular layer,
on a bitmap layer.
A bitmap layer,
right? You can
only blur on bitmap.
Yeah. You convert your vector layer to a bitmap layer, make it blurred, and then if you're racking focus, if you're changing, then you have to just do the same thing on the other layer, and then you're like, ooh, but you can do it right in the board now, as opposed to having to ask it to be done editorially.
So I remember the way I would indicate it way back in the old pencil and paper days.
Mm-hmm.
I can't believe we drew storyboards on pencil and paper.
I mean, it's nuts. It's not. Remember just the stacks of paper.
Yeah, you're shooting off a stack that high of 8.5 by 14 pages, and if you're drawing the same background over and over and over,
so many trees.
You're cutting up panels like a kindergartner with scissors and tape and glue.
And then I don't know, for people who, no one who's born in this century is going to even understand what we're talking about, but like when you would have a board and you have to put notes on it, there were all the yellow Post-it notes.
Mm-hmm.
So you just, it would be a phone book worth of stuff that you'd have to carry around and turn in. And then people would just flip them.
The whole
idea of watching an animatic, that's a new thing, relatively.
Well, and then, you had to ship these boards, because I think I was doing some when I was living in Florida. I had to run to FedEx, but I wanted to make photocopies. Well, if you've got Post-its taped on top of a page, you can't send that through the feeder, or it's coming out the other end just jacked up, right? So you have to individually copy 100, 150 board pages. Kids these days,
they don't know the pain, the suffering of storytelling.
But what I was going to say was rack focus. I used to, when I had something in soft focus in the foreground, I'd use the side of my pencil to kind of render it soft, and then redraw it, with the pointy end. And that was the old-fashioned way to indicate it.
Analog, man. Yeah.
I kind of miss it, but I kind of don't.
I do have. I'd say I do miss sometimes drawing on paper, but I think the number one thing I feel like I've noticed that's problematic more about drawing on the Cintiq, whether it's in Photoshop or Toon Boom or whatever, is that I feel like when we used to draw on paper, you're constantly making all these micro adjustments with your body when you're drawing on paper. If it's, like you're tilting the paper, you're moving it, like your body's just moving in very small ways, way, way, way more. And I feel like And so it helps you avoid repetitive motion problems in your shoulders and back and hands and different stuff in a way that I find that when you just use the rotate tool, you're constantly electronically rotating it. And so unless your name is Dusty Abel, a comic artist, it's an animation artist we all know that will hopefully be a guest on the show at some point, Dusty draws with a Cintiq as if he's a bus driver, and he just moves the whole Cintiq because it can,
right.
Like, I don't know if he's just trying to get a lat workout because Dusty's
he's
really
so damn strong.
Exactly. So he's just like,
Dusty's kind of ripped.
Allow me to change that. Maybe I should start trying to do that so as to avoid. But I found that with all the micro drawing that we do, if you're just always hitting rotate, your body's almost never moving, and that's really not good for your body.
Right.
But anyone watching this, don't become an artist if you want to take care of your body.
Or make sure that you practice that stuff as well as all your other basics. Like, I think that on a side note, I think the things that artists should know. You should know your fundamentals of perspective, storytelling, figure drawing, lighting, all that stuff. But also you should learn how to stretch, like stand up every hour, make sure that you don't get carpal tunnel, like that. Learn how to
exercise,
take your vitamin, do all the things that make you a functional human should be part of learning how to be a professional artist. Otherwise we just all break down. We all have the same horrible injuries. the nonstop like aches and pains. All right, let's go back to
someone who never has aches and pains. Chance Boudreaux,
take the pig stick. All right.
What is he? The muscles from Brussels.
Yeah. Old school shinobi. He's got the mullet of the hulking sax player in the Lost Boys.
Nice.
I still believe.
One of the things I love about this scene, the dialogue is fantastic, but just like no one holds a knife like that.
I was just going to ask you, Jeff. You're the weapons expert of all of us. Is that good knife technique with thumb and forefinger?
No, it's not good. It's not.
But it's very good knife holding storytelling technique.
Yes.
It looks cool, not terribly practical.
We can very clearly see that that's a man. That's an acid wash jean jacket, and it's a shiny knife.
Right.
His fashion is fantastic. Also, if you're really going to fight someone with a knife, you don't show them the knife.
But again, right, and though as we know, and that's why too, probably why it's holding it, especially since he's out of focus, it's all the more important that it really clearly read that it is a knife.
Yeah, agreed. Best line ever.
Thank you. I take your pig stick and your boyfriend.
I know. I wish we had audio. I'm dying to hear that accent.
I'm gonna take your pig stick and your boyfriend and catch a bus. Right.
Look at this guy.
Hey, man.
Here's the things.
The greatest. He's gonna chamber his leg.
What I think is he's like a gunfighter clearing his holster.
Right.
He's
revealing his weapon. It's just not a gun.
We had to wait almost 30 years for a similar moment when Henry Cavill kind of chambers his biceps in Mission Impossible 6.
Oh my god.
That's a great fight scene.
That is a brilliant fight scene.
I
bought that movie just for it.
I'll have to do it in a non-guilty pleasure episode.
Sure. Yeah. So yeah, Chambers like shows you the weapon. here's my leg. You show me your knife. I'm going to show you my leg.
Right.
And then so one of the things, Brandon, that another thing I learned from Sean is when he was talking about scene selection and shot selection, is like you have an action and then you have a reaction. Right. And so here we have the action, Chance showing us his weapon. Okay. And then these guys reacting like, come on, for reals?
Yeah. Look at this guy.
You should take me seriously. Honestly, you should take. I mean, any man who wears a mullet and makes that face at you, you should take him seriously.
Yeah.
Then we cut out wide.
A very impressive hook kick.
Yeah, I love that pose. I can't help myself. And then once again, just great cutting in.
He's definitely wearing Chuck Norris jeans.
Yes, he's very limber. Oh. And then guy number 2.
Find a bustle cage. Oh, this guy's
nice.
So
nice
remember
screen grabs too, Jeff.
Yeah, remember the guy with glasses? Jeff. This is why you put a guy with glasses in.
Yeah.
So you can knock him off. There's no other reason for this guy to be wearing glasses except for this moment, right?
For them to fly off after he gets Jean-Claude's boot today.
And that's an impressive set of hook kicks. He kicks and his leg never touches the ground again before the next hook kick.
Yeah, he does a little hop.
I'll tell you what, I'd have to take a few breaths in between the 2 kicks.
Sure.
Yancey's still very much staying in character, as Jeff's pointed out, 3 and 4, but Yancey still, she's, even though the camera's not on her, she's still selling her fear, and impressive in the fact that she's so impressed with Chance's boudreauxness, if you will.
Right. Well, apart from it's a fun action scene, there's a lot of character being developed here.
Yes.
Don't forget, we're still telling a story. All right.
Yeah, we're establishing Chance Boudreaux.
Right. So once again, I think that it's important as when you're doing a fight scene is to keep track of all the people involved. And like 3 and 4, they're lined up.
Tracking geography.
Right.
That is one of the harder things to do in a fight scene with a large group. Is establishing where everybody is and where they are at various moments, because you'll want to cut in close on a few people, but you got to track where everybody else is, and that's hard.
A joy of Jean-Claude's mullet here too is the fact that it allows for there to always be motion in what he's doing. As his hair spins.
I did a book for Malibu called Solitaire, and I was also very much into Korean scarf fighting at the time. And I always thought that was a really great weapon, a scarf that you could use as sort of a whip. I thought that was cool. But one of the things that was really great about it is it always shows motion. You can whip it around, and I think that I wonder, do you think
great
this
element
is really
in Solitaire's design? Because you had him jumping and constantly being acrobatic, but the scarf and the floppy boots and gloves that he had always allowed you to denote direction. And
right.
extra
because a skin tight suit, it'll just look like a statue in a comic panel.
Yeah, if you're Daredevil or exactly.
I wonder if that's why capes were kind of big early on with superheroes.
I mean, they're a fantastic tool for showing movement.
Yeah, flying or moving fast, sure.
So I wonder if John Woo just loved the mullet, or if he decided he was using it as a tool to show direction.
I would pay so much money if we could have an interview with John Woo and just talk to him about the mullet and nothing else.
I wonder if he gets asked that all the time.
John Woo, we all love The Better Tomorrow and all of your other great films, but
sure you're a film Jesus, but what about the mullet? All right, number 3.
I'd watch that.
There's the boot. There's the reaction, right?
The
actual reaction.
It's keeping Yancey in the scene. Like, okay, wait, where is she? Geography. How's she feeling? She's still scared.
And also, she's still in the middle, right? It's undecided necessarily, like which way her destiny's going to go.
Well, and even though Chance is kicking ass, we don't know for sure that it's all over. She's not just sitting there calmly,
right?
She has awesome thick eyebrows. That makes the scared expression just awesome.
She does
between the bright blue eyes and the thick eyebrows.
She's got some great.
You know what she's feeling.
More good character design. All right, and then right before this shot, Jeff, there's also, he does exactly what you're talking about, because first we cut back to a close up of Jean-Claude, and it's close enough.
It's closer than that.
It's a close up of initiating and doing the turn.
Yeah,
exactly. And so the great thing is that essentially it makes us feel like he's spinning longer and more. It gives a greater sense of like build and release before we then cut wide, because he doesn't spin twice, but we see him spin twice to set up this great shot.
Yeah.
foot sweep on the hood of the car.
And then cutting out this. So they really, this is one of the things that there's, each shot is barely a half a second long. Like there's a lot of cuts. Like you never really get to see the end of an action. It's always cutting. There's never one solid master shot.
But it doesn't have but what he does so well, because a big complaint of Jeff's, because Jeff loves like Jackie Chan style kung fu cinema the most, where, you know, very often Jackie Chan, like the camera might not move and you're very, very, very clearly seeing all the choreography. But in this,
they're wide shots. They're really long shots too, right?
Yeah.
Because I think that's what I remember loving about Jackie Chan movies were, you know, huge wide shots with him taking on a crowd of dudes, but it's not cut.
Yeah.
It's like they're doing this fight ballet for 5 seconds, 10 seconds, and it's amazing.
But my favorite thing about what Wu does in this fight scene and in this film in general is he does both. We clearly see all the choreography, but he's making the camera and the editing a participant as well, you know, so that we get the best of both worlds. We get everything. We can very clearly see all the amazing stunt work that everyone is doing.
Right.
Because they're so frustrating when you watch something where you're like, there's clearly people doing amazing shit here, and I can't tell what the hell's happening because the camera is working in opposition to the action, you know?
Yes.
And
I've seen poorly edited fight scenes where they're just trying to make something out of either crappy shots they got or they're editing too much and it's confusing. Yeah. I'm never confused in a John Woo.
This is a question from Savorian. I don't know if he did any re-edits on this movie. When we saw it, it was a John Woo film. So I don't know if there's any backstory to that or not. And it seems pretty consistent with other John Woo movies. So I don't honestly know. It's a good question though.
Yeah. Now, a real quick piece of trivia before we dive back in. Mm-hmm. Did I hear it on your guys' show or on the Drink and Draw about Jean-Claude Van Damme being the original Predator?
Yes, he was in the costume first.
That was you guys talking about.
That was us. Right? Well, I mean, we talked about it. Yeah.
Yeah, I had no idea. That was so awesome.
It was news to me too.
Yeah, and I'm kind of glad they went the direction they did.
Absolutely.
Nothing against Jean-Claude. He was just putting a silly outfit.
Yeah.
And I mean, the one they used.
Oh, Jean-Claude Van Damme. So yeah, knocks the guy down, and then number 4, this guy. Also, who would hold a bottle like that?
Uses the guy to kick into the other guy, then another great super low angle shot after the impact.
This is a great shot. This, by the way, is a shot every comic artist should have in their holster
repertoire.
Yeah. Good low angle past the knocked out guy. And then the guy with the bottle.
Right in your own head.
Right.
Oh, this is great.
Why are you hitting yourself?
Exactly. It's a defeat. It's brutal and a moral victory. Right.
And what happened? I mean, and then keep going. I mean, this guy's fate is truly terrible.
Oh yeah. Well, so what I love is this shot is great because it's fun and it's unpleasant for the guy, but like we see the guy who's going to be attacking next getting up in the background.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things when you do when you're choreographing a fight scene, I always found it's very difficult to let the audience know, give them a hint of what's coming without pulling focus from the action.
Hmm. Well, and because in a way, he uses the camera so much and editing so much, but there's a sense in a way that there might actually be a master, like camera's just 20 feet away shooting the entire scene, version of the film or of the scene. I absolutely don't think there is, but it plays as if it's all happening. You know what I mean? The fact
that everyone's where they're supposed to be through every shot, even if you're cutting.
Exactly. Yeah. Everyone's geography remains consistent.
And I think that's, I mean, it's meticulous and it can be a little anal sometimes to try and make like little maps and try and figure where things out. But I think that the audience really benefits from knowing where everyone's at because they then know where they're at.
Yes. I mean, I'm working with this director now named Dan on my show, and he's great. He worked on Puss in Boots and he worked on Boss Baby, and he regularly will make schematics, you know, just top-down shots of like where everyone is in the scene, moving, showing where the camera is too. And it's such a great shorthand to be able to go. And then he goes from here and then shows the movement of the camera, and you're like, oh, okay, I got it. Yeah.
Brandon, I don't know if you remember or not, but when we worked on Harley Quinn and you were my director on that, and I was doing the scene where Harley and Poison Ivy, not Poison Ivy, Catwoman
and Poison
Ivy and Catwoman were in the museum going through like the death traps and stuff.
Yes.
Like you gave me a bunch of panels ahead of time of like, they're here, then they come up here, and then they go over there. So that when it came time for me to choreograph the action, I knew where everyone was going to be in every moment in the scene. I just had to figure out how to get them there.
Yes. Now, was that too much information? Or
no, it was great. It was fantastic because then once you have a framework on stuff, then I could figure out like, oh, what cool move could they do? How can I fit in the conversation in this scene from this angle? Like, I always find as a storyboard artist, I really appreciate more information than less.
Oh, totally, right? Brandon. I don't think it's always better to have more because I also think too, it's like, and you see this a lot of Brandon. Brandon directs a lot too, so it's that thing of like, you see the weaknesses of if someone just does straight ahead storyboarding, right? Like you can't just get the script and then just start boarding and thumbnailing right then because you storyboard yourself into all kinds of traps and problems that you may have to just use the camera to kind of cut your way out of.
Yeah.
Whereas like you really have to have read it a few times, looked at it, you know, do what you did and knowing, oh wait, 3/4 of the way through the scene, someone's got to pick up this cup. At the end of the scene, they have to be at this doorway, you know, and so you need to have gone through it a bunch of different times and maybe taken a few thumbnail practice runs before you just start committing pen to paper, as it were, I think.
I was going to, you know, I can't show you in detail, but I do this for every show, literal thumbnails, right, on paper, so it's not digital. Some people can thumbnail on the Storyboard Pro. This is where I get my analog fix, right? This pencil and paper. And it's a great first draft, and it helps you realize what problems you're going to run into. And but back to that Harley Quinn show that Jeff helped with, I read that sequence where Catwoman, they're in a museum trying to, you know, get something for
they have to get around death traps, and they have to, there's all these traps in the museum. And so they have to then get to the goal. And so there's all these obstacles they have to get around.
I think it was to get Kite Man a diamond ring.
Yeah, he has to get a diamond ring for his,
But, you know, Catwoman, they bring her on to help her, or help everybody, help the whole team. And there was a scene where there are these boats in a room hanging off the ceiling.
Yeah, it was a nautical section.
Flips and jumps. And I'm like, I'm envisioning the panels you do with the multiple figures, you know, Spider-Man or Solitaire.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, Jeff is freaking perfect for this.
I do. That was one of the most fun scenes I've ever had drawing. I mean, because it's all acrobatics and it's all like knowing where. Steve, who was the director who said that most of directing is just traffic management?
I don't know.
It was one of your directors that getting people from point A to point B.
I'm not remember. I do remember that statement now, but I'm wondering if a director said that or if that was just me maybe working on a Scooby thing and just being frustrated because I had like the Scooby gang and like 4 guest stars that episode, and just being like, man, the traffic management on the show, I feel like all I'm doing is being a traffic manager. It's like, all right, get 9 people from here to there.
I was going to ask, is the traffic the storyboard artists or the characters you're drawing?
And the traffic is definitely the story. Yeah, trying to figure out
the characters.
Well,
and Scoobies are hard because you got 5 people every shot.
Yeah. One of the things I found that I really appreciate having the work done ahead of time, the thumbnails and the figuring out the traffic management and all that stuff is there's nothing more annoying than getting all the way to the end of a scene and realizing that you left a character behind. Or right? You're like, son of a bitch, or that you put them on the wrong side of the room and you're like, damn it, that's not where the door, like, so you have to restage everything.
Yeah. Throw all this few days work out. Try it again.
Or certainly it's why there is a storyboard revision position in animation. And it's amazing how often it might just be something as much as like, oh wait, this character actually has a staff in their hand the whole scene, right? And the storyboard artist didn't get it, or just, we gave the storyboard artist the old model, and we forgot to give him the new model. So,
or even worse is like you didn't realize that robot is 30 feet tall. You're like,
I feel so bad.
You didn't get the size comp chart.
I did a teaser for a show which I won't mention, but I feel so well. I mean, it's not entirely my fault. Actually, it's not my fault, but I still feel terrible. It was like, I think I did not have the size comp for the ratio of the BG to the characters, and so I did the whole thing, and then I just didn't have the right size comp. So then I think the director ended up having to like redo almost everything just because it didn't work in the it's like, oh look, the character is supposed to be tiny and that's supposed to be a giant background, not just like not a small room. It's like, oh
man,
only I would have known.
Yeah, it's upsetting. All right, back to Jean-Claude.
Okay.
All right, so smack in the face, boom goes the dynamite.
Ouch.
Pan over, same shot, and now we have this other guy. The glasses guy, and now he's pissed.
He's lost his glasses, his special glasses.
Yeah.
Come on, I'm going to throw something on the ground. I think he threw his glasses on the ground.
Yeah,
another amazing foot sweep, and this is just what Jeff's talking about. We get 3 angles on this foot sweep.
Right. Here's the foot sweep. Matt. And then the other side.
So good.
Wow.
Essentially, that was a prelude to the bullet cam from The Matrix. Because we basically rotated around Jean-Claude.
That's a great observation.
Yeah, that's really interesting because we spun in space, but we didn't have the technology for it back then.
Yeah. Wow.
Dun, 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 dun. We have the technology.
Right. And then back to guy number 1. With his ridiculous knife.
Your hat's not going to cut it. Yeah.
Right. And then
great cutting
the reaction.
Yeah.
Look at those eyebrows.
Right?
Yeah. No, I'm with you.
And this is an amazing sequence of shots that lead up to this going through the window.
Right.
Because we basically start on that wide shot, then we cut in for the series of other reaction shots, and then we cut back to the original shot to get him through the window.
And a close up of the spinning. Look at that hair.
Hell yeah.
Man, this is making me want to grow a mullet again.
I think I'm starting to grow mine right now.
Yeah. Bang.
And look, stuntmen took a lot of punishment in these shots. There's a lot of stuff where we're seeing hits. We're not seeing like what you typically see in a fight scene where characters are positioned in such a way that you can swing the fist or the leg a few inches away. We're seeing contact a lot in this fight scene.
Well, and Jeff, this is an example of what you were talking about. Show the action, rewind a bit, show the action again, right? Because in the previous shot, his foot was already connecting with the neck.
Yep.
Or is he coming off the foot in that?
No, he's got him. He hits him there.
Yeah.
He hits him there.
Yeah.
He's already going forward, but then it cuts back to it still hasn't hit all the way.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. God, I'm so gonna rewatch this tonight.
Yeah. There's a ton of great stuff in there. And in this fool, so we're almost at the end, but I wanted to get this far. So
Classic guy wants one more piece.
Yeah, he comes at him with a pipe, and then bone
fake
snap.
arm.
Yeah.
Nice.
But this is my favorite. Look at that.
It's such a great samurai. The sword is in the guy.
Yeah.
While and they're both just standing there for a held moment. As the guy's sword has penetrated his opponent's flesh.
I also, in the inner monologue of Van Damme, this hurts me more than it hurts you.
Yeah. Well, and what's so great about, I love it, right? We have this spin, we have this thing, we have that hold moment, and it's all gone kind of slow. And then the next shot, when that guy spins when the stuntman spins to the ground and hits it, it almost feels like it's sped up. So there's this really great kind of catch and release, like hold, bam,
Yeah. Sadly, we ran out of room for screenshots, so this is the one we ended on. I know.
Oh,
there's so much more. So here's the thing. See the movie.
Right.
Get the movie. Go get the movie.
Because look, we haven't even talked about Lance Henriksen or Arnold Vosloo.
It's a great movie.
Or Wilford Brimley. So far, we have only talked about films, not comics and not cartoons. So far, on another round, we have only discussed films that star Wilford Brimley. Will we be able to keep that up? I don't know. It's hard.
So next is Cocoon.
That's good.
Right?
Yeah.
Let's do that.
The Firm.
The man had a glorious career.
And his diabetes commercials.
Yeah. So I think that, Wilford Brimley, ace. So even if you don't like a film, but it's made by skilled filmmakers or artists, there's something in it worthwhile, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, take a moment, look at each shot, break it down. Like, this is a really well put together film.
Well, I mean, if we keep playing around with doing this guilty pleasures format on occasion, it'll be interesting to explore like what makes a guilty pleasure. Because so often, I mean, sometimes you just like something that's just pure garbage. Like we've all been there. It might be because it just hit you at a certain age or at a certain time in your life. Or you're just in a bad, like, I think I saw Hudson Hawk at a certain point where I thought it was great, and I haven't gone back to rewatch it because I know it's not.
It doesn't hold up. It's problematic.
So I had that experience with Weird Science.
Oh,
I remember adoring that movie when it came out.
Careful, Jones is going to get you.
I would put.
I still love it. What I was going to say was my girlfriend, who's a few years younger, did not find it as funny or just as good as I remember it being. Now, Bill Paxton steals the show. He's brilliant no matter what.
Uh-huh. Brandon, you bring up a good point because I actually always cite you in this story of like whether something's a guilty pleasure or not. You might love something because you saw it through a certain window or a certain time in your life. Because I remember, I'm almost positive that it was Fletch. Like, I think you didn't see Fletch when it came out in the theater, and me and Jeff and Scott all did, and we were raving about it. We're like, Brandon, you got to see it. And I think you saw it like in the mid to late 90s after Chevy Chase had thoroughly peaked and then thoroughly flopped pre-Community. Yeah. And so I remember you were like, it's okay. Because so much of it is just getting by on the fact that at that moment in time, Chevy Chase was considered the coolest, funniest guy in town.
Yeah.
Right. And I'd already seen too many other of his bad movies. Funny Farm, I think, was playing at the movie theater when I was an usher. And so I missed his classics. Caddyshack, I never saw until way late.
Oh, yeah. You got to see it.
I'm going back and I can appreciate it. So that's the thing. A film of its time, you see it at the right time, the right age, it's going to freeze and be perfect for you forever.
I'm going to share a secret with you guys. My favorite guilty pleasure movie, and I hope we do it at some point, is Deep Rising.
I think we should. I think we should, just because I want to see Jeff put his power into defending Deep Rising. Because
whoa! Why would I have to defend?
I don't mean to say defend. I just mean like I have tried to see Deep Rising through your eyes, and I've never been able to do it. So I'd love to see you make your case for it, if you will.
All right.
And I won't be looking to tear it down. I'm just saying
we might actually have to have a Guilty Pleasures Court where you present, you're like, this is my guilty pleasure film, and then have, like, I don't know, maybe a jury of our peers.
You have to defend it.
Yeah.
Because I don't think I've ever seen Deep Rising.
Our missing European co-host Scott right now, he and I have talked many times about maybe that the two of us might do a 2-man show of Flash Gordon, like a 99-seat theater, just a few friends, just
acting out,
doing all of the costumes, all of the characters.
Flash Gordon's fantastic. Flash Gordon is definitely a guilty pleasure.
Can Jeff and I be stagehands, like tilting the platform with the spikes?
Right.
Well, I mean, with your beard right now, you may have to be Prince Fultan.
Right.
Yeah.
What?
And maybe and Jeff can be Flash. Maybe because I really want to be
instead.
No, I want to be Prince Baron.
Oh, all right. Okay, we'll have to fight over it. We'll have to figure it out. All right, guys. That was a lot of fun. That was the show. Brandon, thanks for being a special guest, secret special guest.
I had a blast, and let's raise our cans to Mr. Kolins in green old Ireland there.
Right.
Great show, great
To
subject.
be able to step in.
Yeah. Jeff, I don't appreciate being surprised with Brandon at the last second, but other than that, great show.
I do what I can do.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
All right.
Brandon McKinney is a great artist. Buy Red Dawn / Crimson Storm when it comes out. Go back and buy a bunch of Elf Quests that he's drawn. Watch every cartoon from the past 25 years and look for his name.
He's in there. I linked all of our stuff in the description box. So check us all out. Brandon is doing comics and commissions and whatnot. And make sure that you like and subscribe. That really helps us out. And here is our final screen. All right, good night, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good night. Thanks for having me, you guys.
Toodaloo, people.